Good morning, and welcome to the Cloud Foundry Morning Edition. My name is Stormy Peters, and I'm VP of Technical Evangelism at the Cloud Foundry Foundation. First off, I wanted to say thanks to everyone who sent in news this week. That's awesome. So anybody else who has news that would like to submit it for this weekly update, feel free to email me. I am stormy@cloudfoundry.org. Even better yet, bonus points if you send me a 30-second video of yourself telling us your news, or even like a screencast if it's a tool, and I will include it. That is if my video editing skills can live up to the task, but I'm pretty sure I can handle it. So if you have news, either send it to me in email or send me a clip of yourself talking about it or showing it. So what's happened this week in Cloud Foundry? So big news, the Korean government has joined the Cloud Foundry Foundation. They have selected Cloud Foundry to be their primary e-government platform. The news was broken in Korean, so I think it's on ZDNet. You can go there and maybe you can use Google Translate like I did, and you can kind of get the general feel for what the news says. Look for more news later this week, I would assume. Other news, there was a new tool released called Subway by Stark and Wayne. They've been maintaining this feature set for a while and have released it as a tool called Subway. And it's basically a service broker that allows you to horizontally scale service brokers that don't allow horizontal scaling. If you have that problem, if you're trying to use a service broker that doesn't scale horizontally, it is an awesome tool for you. It's also an open source software project, so you can go download it, play with it, contribute to it if you use it, and check it out. On other news, Altoros, who does a lot of good training already, is now launching a new webinar series on how to implement Cloud Foundry. Their first one will be on September 29th, and then I believe it's the first Tuesday of every month, if I got that right. But if you check out the Twitter hashtag, hashtag CFLivecast, LIVECAST, you can follow the news there. It's a great way to expand your skill set. Also in the news this week, SAP. SAP is a platinum member of the Cloud Foundry Foundation. They publish more info on how they use Cloud Foundry. So if you go out there and Google that, there's a couple really in-depth articles about what the SAP HANA Cloud Platform does and is, and how it will leverage Cloud Foundry and OpenStack. So some really good info in there if that's something that you're looking at. And they invite people to join them at the SAP TEDx conference or at the Cloud Foundry Summit Berlin to learn more about what they're doing and what's available. Speaking of the Cloud Foundry Summit, don't forget that the Cloud Foundry Summit Europe is happening November 2nd and 3rd in Berlin. Thank you so much to everyone who submitted proposals. We had an outstanding number of really record proposals. Fortunately or unfortunately, there's no way we could possibly accept all of them. I think we're looking at like a 10% acceptance rate. We had so many awesome proposals. So I can guarantee you that if you go to the summit, the agenda will be awesome because we have a super good pool of talks to pull from. So thank you everybody who submitted them. And you should submit those proposals and any other ones you have to the Cloud Foundry Summit in China. That call for proposals closes later this week on the 25th. Although possibly there'll be a 3-day extension. I didn't say that though. So please submit your talks there. As a reminder, the 3 themes that we're looking for that we think will be really useful to the audience in those locations and to the people that will travel to those locations are business transformation stories. So any way that you've used Cloud Foundry successfully in your business and changed things. Anything that's useful to application developers, so like APIs or tool sets that you use. And then any kind of war stories or tips and tricks on how to operate and maintain the Cloud Foundry software within an organization. So if you have any of those types of stories, please submit them for China. And if you're interested in that type of information that would be useful to you, please come to the Cloud Foundry Summit in Berlin or in China. One's November 2nd and 3rd, one's December 2nd and 3rd. And as a tidbit, my ticket to China was really cheap. It was like $700 round trip from Denver in economy, which is going to be a long trip, but $700 is a very cheap way to get to go do a conference in China. So please submit your talks and please come attend. Speaking of events, the Doc Sprint, the very first ever Cloud Foundry Foundation Doc Sprint, is next Wednesday, September 30th in San Francisco. We still have a few spots left. We have a great team. The pivotal Cloud Foundry documentation team is joining us, and we have members from HP and EMC and Blue Box and others, part of us all coming to join to help write documentation for Cloud Foundry. If you are not an expert technical writer, please come share your knowledge about Cloud Foundry. If you are not an expert Cloud Foundry person, please come help us proofread and try out the documentation, because we're going to be focused on getting started with Cloud Foundry. So if you're interested, RSVP to me, stormy at cloudfoundry.org. If you don't have the whole day to give to that, consider joining us in the evening. Starting at 5:30, HP is hosting a Cloud Foundry meetup at the Cloud Foundry Foundation offices where the doc sprint will be. Sam Ramji will be opening. There'll be an HP speaker, as well as someone from Mozilla coming to speak about documentation in open source. So come join us for that. Free food, free beer, and some great company and a great community. Other things that happened, there's a new project. The PMC, the PMCs are the project management consoles where they decide what's happening at the technical level in the project, and they created a new repository called PMC Note. And you can follow PMC Note and find out what is happening, because that's where they submit either the minutes from their meeting if they meet regularly, like once a week or every other week, and if it's a group that doesn't meet, project that doesn't meet regularly, they just submit their updates in writing. So you can follow all the Cloud Foundry projects by following PMC Note. Other projects, Josh from Pivotal, forgetting his last name, one of the Joshes from Pivotal, because I believe there's two, talked at the Cloud Foundation Advisory Board meeting about Cloud Foundry system certification and accreditation. So there's a lot of people in Washington, D.C. and Wall Street that are using Cloud Foundry, and so there's a lot of effort going into what we can do to certify it and accredit it from like a government type, regulation type perspective. And so there's a repository for that project that you can check out. You can contribute to it. The GSA and other government organizations are contributing to it. So if that's an area that you have interest in, please go check it out. They're currently doing it in Markdown, but they're considering another tool that I forgot what it's called. But that's interesting, because if you have a preference, you should go talk to them, join the conversation, because it's an approach that might be adopted by other open source software projects. So right now, Cloud Foundry is looking at how do we document. See, before this happened, this documentation used to happen completely privately, completely behind closed doors, even for open source software projects. So we believe this is one of the very first times that this accreditation and certification process is being created in the open by a group of people, both the contributors to the project and the users of it. And we know that there's other projects already looking at this process and planning to adopt it if they can, like Code for America. So if you are either involved in Cloud Foundry, with Wall Street or the government, or in another open source software project that needs accreditation, this is something interesting to follow. And then another update, also from CAB, from the advisory board meeting, is I think this is interesting. It wasn't so much a technical update as it was how we work. And so one of the things that I find really fascinating about Cloud Foundry is the pair programming model. And so the CLI team has been working on how do you set up teams that are distributed. So how do you partner someone that's in California with someone that's on the East Coast or in Europe? And so they've been looking at what it means to be a distributed contributor and how to ramp up new users when they're not sitting in the same office. So if that's interesting to you, they're a team to follow or to watch, because probably the other teams will be following their lead. So with that, that's what I have to share with you today. Please don't forget to submit your talks for Shanghai or buy your ticket, $700 from Denver round trip, and send me your updates and send them in video format so I can practice and play and see what we could create as a team Cloud Foundry Morning Edition. So with that, I will wrap up this edition of the Cloud Foundry Morning Edition. Have a great week, and I will see you again next week live from the doc sprint. Please join us if you can.